Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Isabel Wong.
And I'm Edna. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. 9 leading Democrats found guilty of public nuisance offences relating to the Occupy protests in 2014.
Sentencing adjourned as some defendants continued with their mitigation pleas.
The government pledges to get to the bottom of missing voter registry scandal.
9 key figures of the 2014 pro-democracy Occupy movement were all found guilty of public nuisance offences today, ending a long trial which drew international attention.
Maintaining a defiant stance, the defendants said they did not regret their actions in the civil disobedience campaign to get the chief executive elected through a popular vote. Sentencing was adjourned. Raymond Yang reports.
Amid deafening cheers and a sea of yellow umbrellas, 9 key figures of the Occupy movement marched into West Kowloon Law Courts in a defiant mood this morning to hear their verdicts. Chen Kin-man, a former sociology professor and one of the so-called Occupy trio, insisted their individual fates paled in comparison to the greater good of Hong Kong.
We are in good spirit because we have no regret for what we have done. What we did is according to our conscience, and we also all along uphold principles of non-violence.
In front of a packed public gallery, Judge Johnny Chan delivered the verdicts. The Occupy trio of legal scholar Benny Tai, Chen Kin-man, and Reverend Chu Yiu-ming were each found guilty of conspiracy to commit public nuisance. Tai and Chen were also found guilty of inciting others to commit public nuisance, although Chu was acquitted of the charge. None of the 3 was found guilty of a third charge, inciting others to incite public nuisance. 6 other key figures of the pro-democracy protests were found guilty of all charges they were facing. Lawmakers Tanya Chan and Shiu Ka-chun and former student activists Cheng Sao-yin and Chung Yu-hwa were convicted of 2 counts each of inciting others to commit public nuisance on Tim May Avenue in Tamar. Raphael Wong of the League of Social Democrats was found guilty of the identical charges, but at a different location, Fenwick Pier Street. And Democratic Party founding member and former lawmaker Lee Wing-tat was convicted of 1 count of inciting others to commit public nuisance on Harcourt Road. The judge explained his decision in a judgment spanning 268 pages. He rejected the defendants' argument that charging them with conspiracy to cause public nuisance would curtail civil disobedience at its formation stage, generate a chilling effect in society, or even silence legitimate speeches. He also noted while the concept of civil disobedience is recognized in Hong Kong, it is not a defense to a criminal charge. By announcing the launch of the Occupy movement on the 28th of September 2014, the trio only modified the original plan, the judge believed. The agreement remained a conspiracy to cause a public nuisance to the public through the unlawful obstruction of public places and roads in or in the neighborhood of Central, he concluded. Raymond Yang, HKIBC.
2 founders of the Occupy movement decided not to enter mitigation pleas following their guilty verdicts, asking the judge instead to spare jail time for colleague Chu Yiu-ming because of old age.
Chu said he's been working for the poor and needy and pledged never to give up the fight for democracy. More from Raymond Yang.
There was a brief sigh of relief when the 9 defendants walked out of court this afternoon. The democracy activists were granted bail after some of them could not finish their mitigation pleas. Proceedings had to be adjourned until tomorrow. Representing the trio of Benny Tai, Chen Kin-man and Chu Yiu-ming, senior counsel Gerard McCoy told the court that his clients would not ask for community service orders in exchange for jail time, as they were willing to pay the price of civil disobedience. Neither Tai nor Chan submitted mitigation letters, but they pleaded with the judge to spare Ju, who's 75 and suffers from several medical conditions. McCoy urged the judge to take into account the trio's selfless motivation, which was to fight for genuine democracy for Hong Kong through peaceful and non-violent means. Reading out an emotional statement from the dock, Ju said he had been used by God his entire life to help the poor and the needy. It seemed absurd and ironic that I'm standing here in the dock at this age, which can be seen as humiliating for a minister, he said. However, he insisted that he, Tai, and Chan had no regrets, no grudge, and no anger, adding they would never give up. Raymond Yang, HKIBC.
Hong Kong's last colonial governor led the chorus of condemnation against the verdict of the democracy activists.
Beijing, however, brushed off the criticism and defended the court's decision. Sarah Wong reports.
Hong Kong's last governor, Chris Patten, slammed the ruling as appallingly divisive at a time, he said, when unity in society is most needed. He also accused the government of using anachronistic common law charges to launch a vengeful pursuit of a democratic attempt. Patten's comments were echoed by the German Parliament's Committee on Human Rights and Humanitarian Aid. Chairman Gude Jensen said it's unacceptable that protesters in Hong Kong are intimidated when exercising their right to freedom of expression and to peaceful demonstration. Organizations advocating freedom of expression demanded that Beijing stop what they called the political persecution of Hong Kong's pro-democracy activists.
当年持续了79天的非法